So my name's Ian Holden. I'm a public governor, that's an elected governor for Newark and Sherwood. I live about 6 miles south of Newark, and I've been a governor for, I'm coming to the end of my second term, but I'm retired, decided coming to the end of my work life that I wanted to do something responsible. So. How it was sold to me was it's that extra level of critical reflection on what's going on behalf of the people out there, to come in and look at what's going on and say, why are you doing that? Why is it working in that particular way? Are you really thinking well about this? And that's my background. I've been a civil servant, and I've taught business studies. And the thing I've always been interested in is getting people to actually ask what I call the next question. Everything looks like this. So that's something I thought I could do. So as I moved out of my professional career, I thought, what can I do that's useful, which will use my skills? Anybody that's got any kind of critical thinking faculty, anybody that's willing to ask questions can do the job. You can bring all sorts of background to it. You can bring finance background, business background, or just being a person who's interested and wants to understand. If you can come in and ask questions, then you can do a useful job. And young people in particular don't take things for granted. They challenge. If you can go in and challenge and say, just tell me why, you might make the difference between it going wrong and somebody saying, okay, let's go away and think about that. The job of a governor is not to run. People get this illusion that it's to come in and govern. It's not. It's to come in and say to the non-executive directors in particular, are you sure it's going well? Why, how, on what evidence are you sure that it's going well? Mm-hmm. And so if you can come in and say, I don't understand this, explain it to me, tell me what's going on, tell me why you think this is going on. Anybody can ask that clear, and quite often, I've sat in board meetings where there have been other people in the meeting who have years of experience of business and so on and so forth, and they take things for granted. They nod things through. They think it's okay. So if you come in with a fresh mind and you look at what's going on, you say, I don't understand why you're doing that. 90% of the time, they'll give you an explanation, it'll be absolutely fine. But that 1 or 10% of the time, you might actually make them stop and think, why do we do that? And you might actually make a difference. I think responsibilities of governors fall into two categories. There's a statutory responsibility that you have. Governors, under legislation, the governors are there to hold the non-executive directors to account. And people don't quite understand what those are, so you've got the board, which is made up of the finance director, the HR director, the chief executive and so on, and you've got non-executive directors who are part-time people who don't have an executive role within the organisation, but they are the check and balance in the board. As a governor, it's an extra check and balance on behalf of your constituents to come and say to the non-executive directors, are you happy? And if you're happy, don't reassure me, don't tell me everything's great, show me why you're happy, give me assurance. The second level of responsibility is the one that applies to me as a person who's been given this privilege of being a governor. So the bottom line is I have to come to Council of Governor meetings. But I see it as a responsibility to say I come to Council of Governor meetings as well prepared as I can be, to make a useful contribution. So I think you have a responsibility to read the papers when they come out. So you don't just sit there and go, if somebody says something, you've at least scanned it and you know what they're talking about. Then I think you have a responsibility to try and bring your skills and understanding to that discussion. Then I think I have a responsibility to make the best use of that opportunity and to do the work. Doesn't mean a massive work, but to do at least enough work to make sure that I'm an active participant in what's going on. So bottom level, come to the meetings, come to the Council of Governors meetings. There are other governors meetings. I look at it this way. The more you can find time to put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And that's probably, it's a meeting once every quarter and a couple of intervening meetings, and it probably takes 2 or 3 hours to read the papers properly. And I think that's probably the minimum, the bottom line. Yeah, if you think you can make a contribution, then give it a go. If you think you've got something useful, if you're willing to put the effort in and you think you've got something useful to add, and what it will give you is, there's so many bad stories about the NHS, there's so much misinformation about the NHS, there's so much media stuff and social media stuff. If you come in and be a governor, you will see what it's really like on the inside, and you might be able to make a contribution and perhaps even a difference to what's going on. The most, for me, given my background, to sit in a meeting and have a senior manager under huge pressure listen to what I say and take account of what I say and give me the feedback and answer my question is a huge, I think that's a privilege, that's hugely rewarding. And then when after you put a question into the system and it churns through the system, and 2 or 3 months later something comes back and something's moved just a little bit, something's changed just a little bit, that's hugely rewarding. I don't suppose they have to have an interest in healthcare. If they're interested in being involved in what's going on publicly in the world, that's a starting point. Obviously, if you've got an interest in healthcare, for example, so many people have had parents, relatives or whatever that have been through hospital treatment and so on. So I think most people have got some background. The thing is, with the young people that I have seen around the health system, so many of them go, wow, I didn't realise there was all this. They say there's nurses and there's doctors, and then they discover about the admin people and the AHPs and the radiographers and all these other people. So an initial interest, and once you get in, it's a fascinating place. And it opens up so many new avenues and new kind of ideas for a young person. So I say, if you've got an interest in the health service at all, do it. Use it as a chance to explore, because there's lots of things to explore out there. It gives you the opportunity, I think, to sit at the high table. So often when things have changed, I know, but when I look back on when I started out in the world, you're at the bottom of a heap and there's all this stuff going on up there. And it's a mystery. And the first opportunity it would give a young person is to sit in on a really very high level management process, managing probably the most complex organisation in the country. And if you get that sort of insight and understanding of how the process works, wherever you go in the world, I think that's a useful piece of background, because it's not a mystery anymore. It gives you the chance to come in and find out about a whole world which most people don't understand about. So if you're still at the stage of thinking, what do I want to do? It gives you a particularly powerful way to come in and look at what happens in a hospital, to understand what happens in a hospital. So if you come in and you do one of the various inspection kind of things that we do, you're walking around the wards or you're going into various departments, you might walk into a department that what's this got to do with national health? So illustration, perfect example. What the hell's illustration got to do with the NHS? But every hospital has got something that calls itself illustration, or something of that sort. So it's an opportunity, I think, to understand at the high table, to watch people working at a high level, making decisions, how decision making works. It's an opportunity to discover about what is a very complex, massively complex organisation, and all the things that go on and all the opportunities that exist in that. And it's an opportunity perhaps to make a contribution.